Matt Gaetz is trending as a result of accusations that he had sexual relations with a 17-year-old. We do a deep dive into just the surface level of what is going on with this, because there has been nothing but news on this for the last 2 days. And finally, AOC says that using the term surge when referring to the border crisis is racist. We'd look into whether that is a legitimate claim. These stories and more in your April 1st Not So News update. Please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content, and let's dive on in. Starting us off from NBC News, we have McCarthy calls allegations against Gaetz serious, plans to speak with him. Gaetz denies the allegations that he had sexual relations with a minor and said he and his families are the victims of a $25 million extortion plot. In the article, the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy from California said Wednesday that the allegations in a news report that Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida is under investigation by the Department of Justice over whether he had sexual relations with a minor and paid for her to travel with him are serious, and the GOP leader plans to speak with him. In an interview with Fox News, McCarthy said he hadn't heard from the Justice Department, which the New York Times reported Tuesday night was investigating Gaetz and the allegations. NBC News confirmed Wednesday that the Florida lawmaker is under investigation for possible sex trafficking in a case that stems from an associate of Gaetz, and says an entirely separate investigation to allegations made by Gaetz that he's the victim of extortion. I just read the story. These are serious implications, McCarthy said. At this point, there hasn't been really anything released by the DOJ, FBI, etc. Regarding these accusations. Be interesting to see how McCarthy handles it. I believe Matt Gaetz also serves on the oversight of the DOJ, so it'd be interesting to see if he still maintains that role during this. However, Matt Gaetz did say that this is all an extortion scheme, and being reported by the Washington Examiner, a couple of documents related to that are being revealed. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, Gaetz mentioned this FBI individual, Don is Matt Gaetz' father. So we have the following. Mr. Gaetz, I would like to inform you, or would like to talk to you immediately about the current federal investigation and the indictment that is about to be filed against your son. I have a plan that can make the future legal and political problems go away. Last summer, we located Robert Levinson in Iran and took 2 proof-of-life videos, but the U.S. government foiled our rescue attempt. We have one more opportunity to rescue Levinson. If you and Matt are willing to help us privately and clandestinely obtain the release of Robert Levinson, I will ensure, it's assumed that he says that the legal issues currently happening would go away. Additionally, they talk about this Project Homecoming. Congressman Matt Gaetz is currently under investigation by the FBI for various public corruption and public integrity issues. The investigation is being handled by the Public Integrity Division of the Department of Justice and is being managed out of the Washington, D.C. field office. The Office of the United States Attorney from the Middle District of Florida is overseeing the potential criminal case. The FBI became aware of compromising pictures depicting Congressman Gaetz and an election official involved in a sexual orgy with underage prostitutes in Maitland, Florida, during unrelated investigation into political corruption and public integrity in another criminal case. Subsequent information has resulted in Congressman Gaetz becoming a target of a widening investigation into serious underage sex trafficking, political corruption, public integrity, and other criminal allegations against Congressman Gaetz and others. A grand jury has been impaneled in the Middle District of Florida to determine whether criminal charges shall be brought against Congressman Gaetz and others. It has been confirmed that at least one underage female has testified to the grand jury that Congressman Gaetz had paid her to engage in sexual activities. Has also been confirmed that other individuals whom are facing serious criminal allegations themselves have testified at the grand jury and have agreed to testify against Congressman Gaetz at any future criminal proceedings. Our strategy for Congressman Gaetz to mitigate his legal political troubles would be for him or someone else to arrange for the funds required to obtain the immediate release of Robert Levinson from captivity in Iran. Robert Levinson has been a political prisoner for the past 14 years. Exchange for the funds being arranged, and upon release of Robert Levinson, Congressman Gaetz shall be given credit for facilitating the release of Mr. Levinson. Congressman Gaetz shall also be on the plan that returns Mr. Levinson to freedom and shall be the person to reunite Mr. Levinson with his family and bring Mr. Levinson back to the United States. Finally, we have a email that is to Jeffrey Nineman from David Goldberg. Counsel, I can confirm that your client is working with my office as well as the FBI at the government's request in order to determine if a federal crime has been committed. This has been discussed with and approved by the FBI as well as leadership of my office and components of Main Justice. The government thanks you for working cooperatively with the FBI. Essentially, what the claim is going on is that the sexual assault essentially is being levied against Gaetz for him not working with this Robertson Levinson release. As far as I understand, there is not a direct link to that currently, but here in the Washington Examiner they give the following. The next day on March 17th, Don Gaetz reportedly met with Kent, and Kent handed him the 3-page document outlining Project Homecoming. The document detailed a plan to save Levinson at the cost of $25 million loan. In 1983, Don Gaetz co-founded Vitas Healthcare, and in 2004, he and his co-founders reportedly sold their stock in the company for $406 million. What's not being directly linked here, though, is how the sexual misconduct photos were obtained and how they link to this, whether it was doctored evidence or whether it is legitimate sexual misconduct. Gaetz is saying that it is totally false, and he's been adamant on Twitter saying that they're false, but that's what anyone would do in this scenario. Coming from Red State, though, the Matt Gaetz leak makes the FBI look really stupid and corrupt. Last night, amidst a slew of far more important stories, the New York Times sought to change the narrative from the disaster at the border by leaking about a supposed investigation involving Representative Matt Gaetz. The report was based on anonymous sources giving vague information about what might or might not be going on. Red State covered this initially last night, and if Gaetz actually did something wrong, he should be held accountable. Representative Matt Gaetz has been the subject of an inquiry by the United States Department of Justice into whether he had sexual relations with a 17-year-old and paid for her to travel with him. 3 people who have been briefed on the matter told the New York Times that investigators are examining whether Gaetz violated federal sex trafficking laws, the people said. In general, I think what anyone stands here is that if Matt Gaetz did indeed actually have relations with a 17-year-old, that is obviously inappropriate. He's mid-30s, so 17-year difference, regardless of how close 17 is to age of consent, it's still creepy regardless, and should be frowned upon, and it is illegal. We really expect our congressmen and representatives to be held to the highest standard. So if obviously if the evidence is doctored or something like that, yeah, he should be let free, and that's what we would expect in a court of law. And we're obviously able to look into this whole scheme of whether this is being used to try and do some type of other political events related to the FBI. But at the end of the day, if he did sleep around with a 17-year-old, we need to hold that accountable. Coming from The Verge, Discord's new Clubhouse-like feature, Stage Channels, is available now. Discord is the latest company to introduce Clubhouse-like features that let people easily broadcast live audio conversations to a room of virtual listeners. Discord says its take, called Stage Channels, is available now on all platforms where Discord is available, including Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, Android, and the web. The Clubhouse app has been making a lot of news lately in the sense that it's a different version of social media. We're used to things like MySpace, Twitter, Facebook, where you're given, X number of characters and you're able to make a comment on that. What Clubhouse intended to do was be the first to make it so it was an audio version of social media. There was essentially a stage and then a audience, and whoever was on the stage was allowed to invite people from the audience on to the stage to be able to talk and give their views. Notable people on it included Joe Rogan, both of the Weinstein brothers, and many more that are in that quote-unquote intellectual dark web community. It would be expected for someone like Jordan Peterson or Assad God to eventually go there, but in general it seems really interesting to see that Discord is branching out to use those similar features, and I think it's a cool idea. I don't know how practical it is at the end of the day to do something that's audio versus text. I think part of what makes Twitter, Facebook useful now is the ability to make a comment and then come back in an hour and continue the conversation. Reported from Bloomberg.com, America's obsession with wipes is tearing up sewer systems. Even before the pandemic, Americans were already flushing far too many wipes into the sewer system. After a year of staying at home, the pipe clogging problem has gotten worse. Just ask Larry Harr, who says he immediately observed the change from his vantage point as the manager of a wastewater reclamation facility in Des Moines, Iowa. Sewer backups are up 50%. He attributes this to the flushing of wipes, which don't break down in water like toilet paper. We already had the problem, but it just hasn't been a big problem as it is currently, Harr said. With consumers cleaning everything from counters to doorknobs in hopes of thwarting the coronavirus, sanitary wipes are more popular than ever. In the 12 months through late January, their sales surged 75% according to data from Nielsen, but the blockage they create when flushed, dubbed fatbergs, have become a costly headache. The Des Moines Metropolitan Wastewater Reclamation Authority has spent more than $100,000 over the past year and deployed specialized block clearing trucks about 30 times according to Hare. Similar problems are plaguing cities and towns across the United States, and they're being forced to spend more and more on fixing the problem. Real question here is who is actually going around, wiping their ass with a wet one. There are special wipes that are, flushable, that are intended to be used for that. And additionally, if you're, wiping a counter or whatever with a wet wipe, just throw it in the trash. I don't know why this is considered a hard concept, but America for you. Finally, being reported by The Hill, Representative AOC on the border. This is not a surge. These children are not insurgents. I will be linking to the video in case you want to watch the whole thing, but more or less, AOC says that the claim of using surge is racist, and shows that it's really just a link to, imperialist, white supremacist language. Just, to give a very brief overview to AOC. I know she spends a lot of time at Congress, so, she might not have the time to open up a dictionary. A surge is a strong wave-like forward motion, rush, or sweep. I think it is fair to classify the border crisis as a surge, as we have a forward movement or a rush coming from the southern border. I know this is a very hard concept to understand, but words have meaning, and let's keep it that way. And this is your March 1st, and that's the news update. Once again, please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content, and have a good one.